Hey, what's up guys? Thanks for joining me today. It is about 45, heavy overcast, and we're fishing the river. I wanted to do something a little different, something a bit educational. So I wanted to do a bank angler's guide to river fishing. This is more so for guys who are newer to fishing rivers and are limited to the bank, don't have electronics, kind of just have to go off instinct and terrain identification really to find these fish. So we'll be catching some fish while I'm talking, throwing out a couple tips, tricks here and there. I'm seeing something bust right now, so I'm about to get this bait in the water. Let's end this intro up and we'll get into it, guys. All right, everybody. Got some pull up. That's a little bit better. All right, everybody. So I'd say the first step, kind of being successful if you're on a new river, or your river journey, would be selecting the right bait. In order to do that, you kind of got to know what fish you got in the river and what's biting, time of year that you're fishing. So I'm choosing a smaller paddle tail, which I do fish a lot, because I know just about everything worth catching in this river is going to eat it. Now I could spend hours flipping a big old creature bait, probably catch a fish or two, or I could throw something like this, catch a very wide variety of species and catch a lot of them. I'm gonna get this in the water real quick. So I used to come out on the river, guys, and I would fish and fish and fish and maybe catch 3 fish in 8 hours or something. It was extremely discouraging. I thought it was my river. I thought these fish just weren't all that good. I thought I needed a boat to catch fish. I needed electronics, that sort of thing. But after a bit of trial and error, I really got it down. See, I didn't have much guidance when I started fishing the river. I didn't know what species were out here, how to catch them. And, you know, slowly I kind of picked it up. But to save y'all some time, your river's probably more diverse than you think. See, we have spotted bass, largemouth, smallmouth here. We have skipjack herring, freshwater drum, white bass. Now I was under the impression that there were only really bass in the river. Those are the only fish I could catch. So I'd throw big old creature baits, flipping them around, because I'd see guys on YouTube fishing them all the time. And slowly I kind of figured out what every fish is gonna bite. And if I can't predict the bite today, like today, I don't know. We're going through that transition period, so I'm not sure if there's gonna be a lot of largemouth out here. Sure, once we get that consistent cooler weather, I'll probably be throwing crankbaits, but right now I'm working a smaller paddle tail because I know everything's gonna eat that. It's gonna give me a good day regardless. And we are kind of looking for some white bass out here. Oh, that felt promising. So a good way to figure out what you got in the water is, well, the internet, for one, your fish brain app, I'm not a huge fan of that, but it does give you an idea of what's biting. I'd say your local tackle shop is probably going to be your best bet. Good fish, guys. See what we're working with them. I think I'm white bass. By the feel of her. It'll be tiny. Yeah. There we go. Small little white. I thought they might be out there a little bit deeper, so I tied on a bit heavier of a jig head. All right. One of our many species on the river, white bass. This is a little one, little tiny guy. It's actually a member of the temperate bass family, kind of like stripers, and I just actually found out white perch are part of that family as well. Hybrids, that sort of deal. A ton of fun to catch, actually really tasty. That one's a bit tiny. So they're out there, they're out a little bit deeper, kind of why I chose a heavier jig head. And not gonna lie, I'm running pretty low on 1/4 ounce jig heads. I gotta resupply. All the ones I have right now are pretty wild paint jobs. I was hoping that boat would move soon, but we're gonna get this back in the water and try to grab a couple more. A big thing I like to focus on is the forage as well. I know we get balls of shad here, so it just makes sense for me to throw something that mimics a bait fish. You don't want to be trying to catch trout on a big old brush hog, really. So if that's the kind of fish you're targeting, find out what they're eating. YouTube, amazing resource. That was extremely helpful for me. There we go. That's a nice fish, guys. Thinking it's a white bass, judging by the old fight. Yeah, that's a nice white. Good size one. Come on up here, girl. There we go, guys. Look at that. Beautiful white bass. Look at that size. You know, we were just talking about that bait selection. I didn't know I could catch these. I catch them occasionally on a crankbait. As soon as I tied on a paddle tail, I was picking them off left and right during winter. It was just a fish I really didn't know was out here. Now, this is a beautiful white bass. I'm gonna get her back in. We're gonna keep going at it. All right, girl. Thanks for being part of the show. Off she goes. Well, that was a beautiful white bass. I'll tell you the other couple things that factor into your bait selection is what type of environment you're working with. So I got a lot of rock, a lot of sand right here. And it just makes sense for me to fish a jig head. I'm using a fairly sensitive rod. I can feel the bottom. I can feel when I hit a rock pile, and I can just cast over that over and over and over again until I get a strike if I think there's fish out there. I also just really enjoy fishing the style jig in these baits. The white bass can get this hook in their mouth very, very easily. However, if I'm in a grassy area, if you're in a grassy area out there, probably not the choice for you. You're gonna be snagging up a lot, maybe hitting timber, could be raking the ground, swooping up leaves left and right. I do have a creek. I tried throwing this there the other day. It was an absolute nightmare. I opted for an EWG for sure. And if you are mainly catching largemouth, I highly recommend you use a hook like that. You can get jig heads like this with EWGs on them. That sort of deal. Color wise too, if I'm going paddle tail, 90% of the time I'm throwing white. Probably the only two colors I really use are white and green pumpkin. Occasionally I'll throw blue, but even in muddy water, I'm going white. Light stain, I'm going white. I might opt for something a little more translucent if I am working a clear stream or something like that. Different colors work for different areas. If I'm fishing an area that's craw heavy, I'm probably going green pumpkin or something a little bit darker. If I'm fishing an area that's shad heavy, like right now, I'm probably going to opt for something white-ish at least. Now, finding these fish, you're going to want to figure out what species you're working with. So, like I said, right now, there we go. Looks like we're dealing with a lot of white bass. Oh, that's a skipjack. Cool, cool. Big old skip. Check this one out, guys. Maybe we'll show her off. She's a big old one. These fish will wrinkle a hook right into you. There we go. Beautiful. That is a chunk of a skip. They make absolutely fantastic bait for you catfish guys out there. Love it. All right, guys, check her out. Look at this. Whoa, skipjack herring. Absolutely beautiful. Really, really big one. We'll get her back in the water, our second species. We're gonna keep getting at it. Well, that sure was a beautiful skipjack. We are on the move due to some sort of lawn care going on. That's just kind of hard to make this video with a giant leaf blower or something going off, so we'll make our way down here. But as I was saying, kind of finding where these fish are, there's no better way to do it than time on the water. There's so many variables, your weather, time of year, sort of fish that are biting at the time. It kind of looked like I was aimlessly casting out, but I know there's offshore rock there, and I know white bass typically hang out around there. If I'm targeting black bass, more so going to be skirting the riprap. I know I don't have any kind of imaging or electronics, so kind of going to be harder for me to find them deeper, but I can always count on them running riprap looking for bait pretty much year round. Skipjack, drum, kind of just in between. Drum like to hang out in the rocks a lot, I know that, so I'll mainly kind of slow bounce in the riprap for them. But other good indicators of spots. So right here, you see we got that little pocket, and then we got a point sticking out right there. Looks a little bit different than the area around us. I'm gonna throw something in right there. Shade lines, that sort of thing. Always gonna be fishing those spots. Well, let's throw one out right here. Maybe we'll get lucky. Can be a gamble. A good rule of thumb for me is if I'm fishing an area, I fish for about 30 minutes and I don't get a bite, I like to move spots. I like to move a decent amount. All right, guys, so we jumped spots a little bit. This area is pretty good. I'm trying to catch something different for you guys. I did pull out a crappie here fairly recently. There we go. Feels like a nicer one. Yeah. All right. Whoa. There we go, guys. Nice little spotted bass. Around here, they aren't super prominent all the time. You can tell by that bright white belly and that red eye right there, that extremely defined gill plate. Good looking fish, though. Get her back in. There we go. Pretty one. Looks like it's just a white bass day out here, guys. Nice little one right there. Look at those stripes. Good indicator whether it's a white bass or a hybrid is your whites are going to be smaller and they're going to have one defined line running down from their tail up to their gill plate. They still do have broken lines. A lot of people I see catch them that aren't too familiar with them and think every white's a hybrid or stripe or whatnot. It's not really like that. In my area, got about a 90% chance of picking off a white. I did pick up a couple stripers before. I haven't caught a hybrid here yet. However, I do know of a spot we can pick some nice big old hybrids. That's very loud though. That is a fish, guys. I thought we were snagged for sure, but oh, look at that. Beautiful crappie. Maybe we'll hang around a while. See if we can get another one. So I picked up one here the other day. It's quite the slab. This is a little baby one right here, but pretty little one. We'll get her back in and throw a couple more. Basically, I ran out of Fluke, so I cut up one of these yum dingers, and they work pretty dang well. Just fishing some snag. This is a pretty snaggy area. We can get another crappie on. Just kind of slow popping. Nice multi-species day. That's 3. Alright guys, I hope y'all enjoyed the video. I'm about to head out. I gotta let the old dog out and get myself some lunch, and probably gonna go hit the creek.